Laingot ki stad wat bniah sepang ki sim klau arpet dio murari ustif bat ugorov kataria kilalap ki jait sim bakampier ki bakantop ya ki Tony breasted ren babla lani hak aka scientific name Spelarinus longicaudatus ki badan ken rai tang hak hasi hills kini stad wat bniah ki lapan pau baki lalap hado shispa arpaut li ki jait sim hak thaiñ Sohra wat kini ki jait sim Tony breasted ren babla ki de ki lalap ken rai ha hak thaiñ mau plang Sohra bat mau kodok u director jaga Meghalaya Tourism Development Corporation MTDC upa Alan West khar ko ngor ulaong bakini ki laingot kidan ka banta ka bakraw bha ban pan kiu ya ka kam jungo kai perthai lengba ka jingwat bniah ikisim.
The entire idea of having them here is to think about putting Meghalaya into the AVI tourism map. So they're here to help us in doing that, task. They've spent 3 days in Sohra, and I met them just now. And the good thing is that they have informed me that they have recorded not less than 130 species in 2 days. So just in 1 or 2 places. So most of you have not known also that in Meghalaya there is a bird that is endemic just in East Khas Hills. I think it's called the tawny breasted ren babbler. It's endemic only to East Khas Hills. It's found nowhere else in the world. And fortunately, Gaurav and them, they've managed to get a photograph of that bird in Sohra. So I'm not an expert in birding, wildlife. So I think I'll hand over the press conference to them. All of them will share their own experience in Meghalaya and what they see about this future scope of Meghalaya in the field of AVI tourism.
Meghalaya especially, people know only certain part of Meghalaya about bird watching. And the rest totally, that means whole state is completely unknown almost. And if for a bird watcher to come here, there is no infrastructure, there's no information, there are no guides to take people. Whereas if you see Arunachal Pradesh, tourism, the bird tourism is totally developed already. And state is earning almost millions of dollars every year just with bird tourism. Without rest tourism, we are not even talking about. So with Alan, it's my third trip with Alan here, and I wanted to see this bird. And this is my 7th trip to Meghalaya, but I couldn't find that bird. But yesterday, Alan suggested us a place, and through a friend we reached there, and we found the bird within I think a minute or two. We played the call of the bird, and within a minute it was there. So that is actually when we talk about bird watching tours, people from all around the world or India would like, it's always their target to find rare species and difficult species. And if you're talking about tawny breasted ren babbler, that is completely endemic to Meghalaya. Means nowhere else in the world you can see that bird. So in longer run, means the idea is every bird watcher has to come to Meghalaya. But the circuit is not decided, the routes are unknown, there are no guides to tell, there is no accommodation to stay. So Steve came in from US, and we were doing trip to Arunachal Pradesh, and then I called up Alan that we would like to do a short exploratory trip to Meghalaya.
I just want to say that as a sport, as a pastime or a hobby, bird watching or birding is just growing exponentially around the world. It's the fastest growing hobby in the world today. And so I think getting ahead of the curve and, kind of taking on board that you have a very special bird here, the potential for bird watching groups and individuals, and especially bird photographers coming out here, is huge. The bird in question, I mean, we're talking about this one bird. We really should have a picture of it, but maybe I should just describe it. It's about this big. It is the size of a ping pong ball, and it's tiny. It's a brown colour, but it's intricately patterned with all sorts of scaly patterns, all over it. It's kind of beige and brown, but it's beautiful. And it hides amongst the rocks and ferns and will just like pop out and then hide back again. So it lives mostly in just kind of, near a waterfall, underneath ferns. And so I think for all of us, you should just see the smiles and whoops of joy when we got to finally see it. This is a dream come true. And like Gaurav said, for visiting bird watchers, whether they're from India or the US, from the UK, wherever, having a central bird like that to focus on is just so important. That's what's going to draw people to this beautiful state. But also what we were doing with, looking around the area and checking it out for other species, it's a long way to come just for one bird. And so you want to have that whole assortment of cool stuff to see. And that's what we were running into. I mean, we had a beautiful flock of broadbills just come whooping by us, and then we ran into a bamboo partridge, which is super unusual to see. I mean, we had such a variety of things. And one of the really cool things about this area is just the road systems, how you'll be up on the table, up on the plateau, and then they go all the way down to the Bangladesh border. And so you're covering a real elevational range. And you get all different birds as the habitat changes. And just within a couple of hours, you can see a huge range of species. So from my perspective, just seeing how all the vegetation and the birds changed very quickly was really exciting.
I've been planning for Meghalaya and it never happened or occurred. But if you look at the data for Meghalaya, from visiting birders and everyone, there are only around 600 people who have reported birds from Meghalaya, right? Almost around 425 around number of the bird found in Meghalaya. Only 600 people have seen, and that's also a couple of hotspots. Like it could be Sohra, it could be Balpakram or Nokre, and 5-10 checklist. I mean, only few people comes here. So there is virtually no data available for Meghalaya. That where a birder comes and goes, because if I come down and I have to go for like 3 days or 5 days for one single bird, it's become a costly affair. Secondly, my PhD is I worked on the climate change impact on the bird distribution, how climate change will suffer the bird patterns. So what's happening here, and particularly on the edge or the near border states, many species which is occurring on Burma or other states, other countries, will start moving northward. That is the global phenomena happening, that most of the species from this, it's going northward or more cooler areas. So this area might receive some new species which were never occurred in India. So that also becomes more of a tourism point of view, to look at that how those places are surveyed and conserved with the help of local communities, because their circuits or their trails and their knowledge can easily be, like I was talking to Alan, I mean, almost all birds have a local name. They might not know the English name or something, but with a training and support on birding side, it can be worked out easily.